At the beginning of the episode, Vasily and Charlotte hunt a deer in the snowy woods of North Dakota. Later, they enjoy the meal when Quinlan worries about not finding the missile base on the map. Since it's a secret base thing, Roman explains that its location is not supposed to be on the map. Back in Philadelphia, Ephraim and Alex prepare some rat poison to mix into the vampire's blood tanker. As they work, they bond while talking about their long-lost sons and old memories. In the next scene, Vasily, Quinlan, Charlotte, and Roman arrive at the missile base. Finding dead officers and vampires, Vasily throws a silver grenade inside the silo to kill any possible vampires. As Quinlan bends over to see inside, he is shot by an invisible shooter, making him fall into the silo. He is injured and still being shot. Just then, Roman tries to talk to the shooter, thinking he might be his colleague, but there's no response. So Vasily decides to go inside the silo alone from a different entry point. Soon he finds out the shooter and knocks him down, after Quinlan distracts him. Then Quinlan shoots him dead. Elsewhere, while Zach feeds a rat to a pet snake, the cleaning girl arrives. Zach's pet feeler growls at her, making her frightened, so he orders the feeler to stop. However, the girl doesn't feel safe and runs away. Zach follows her to the streets and assures her that she will be safe with him, as he backs off a vampire. Also, he allows her to take anything she wants to eat from his place. Meanwhile, Ephraim, Alex and her brother wait on a bus for the vampire blood tanker. As the tanker approaches near, they collide the bus with it, blocking the way. While the tanker's driver argues with Alex's brother, Ephraim hooks the tanker with a pipe supplying poison. Soon they succeed in their plan and leave the scene, when two vampires emerge from the dark. Later that night, Zach takes the cleaning girl to the American Museum of Natural History. As they talk, the girl reveals her parents died in the first nuclear explosion. Since Zach was responsible for the explosion, he hesitates to speak for a while. Then he tells her that she and her friends can have as much food as they want from his place. The girl tells her name is Abby and thanks Zach. After returning back home, Zach is greeted by the master. He questions the master about the lack of food supplies for the survivors, and also suggests that he doesn't need the white anymore. The manipulative master convinces Zach that the scarcity is because of the nuclear explosion. He further explains to him that human selfishness and vanity are indelible. As millions of human minds exist within the master, he claims he can read them and say that human animals are the most dangerous. He gives Zach a choice to either stay together and help him or go back to his normal life. Since Zach is already infatuated by the master, he chooses to stay put. Before kneeling down to get his white, back in Dakota, Roman discovers that the missile's pit assembly is missing. Without the pit assembly, the nuke can't function. After realizing that the master had sent his vampires to steal the pit assembly, they decide to search the vampire convoy. In the meantime, Ephraim, Alex and her brother wait outside one of the partnership buildings. Since there's no movement of vampires for the last 2 hours, Ephraim believes they must be dead, so the three of them go inside, where they find a pile of dead vampires, concluding that the poison worked. Then they enter inside the partnership's regional transportation office and find cargo manifest, making them think, what is the master up to? Later the master informs Icorst about someone poisoning the blood supply and killing the vampires. Surprisingly, Icorst looks happy because he thinks it must be either Satrakian or one of his associates. Since they have been searching for the vampire hunting group, Icorst can't wait for them to show themselves. The master commands Icorst to crush them down as soon as he finds them. The next day we see Sanjay having a dinner date with his wife, Sela, who is not happy with the new life. She doesn't find it normal as they are stared by armed men while they eat. Just when Sanjay asks her to at least pretend to have a good time, Icorst arrives, making the situation more awkward. He asks for an update of the breeding facility and wants the babies to be delivered earlier than 9 months. Not only that, he wants the mothers to give birth twice a year. Furthermore, he threatens Sanjay to find someone else for the work if he can't fulfill his purpose. At the breeding facility, Sanjay calls Dutch at his office and asks her to stay with Sophie, who is going to have a C-section as the first delivery of the partnership. When Dutch is unwilling to help him, he threatens to send her to some living hell. Meanwhile, Ephraim, Alex and the group are attacked by the vampires inside the school. They fight with the vampires as they run from the school. During the fight, Alex's brother is attacked by a vampire, so he encourages Alex to put him down before he turns. She breaks down and hesitates, so Ephraim shoots for her. Then the two of them run out of the school and manage to hide at a mannequin's warehouse. Next we see Gus giving a gun to Raoul and telling him how to shoot. Just then, one of the members of their crew shows up seriously injured. He dies shortly after revealing that two guys who wanted his territory took his belongings and shot him. Afterwards, Gus heads outside to find the new enemies. After tracking one of the shooters, Gus manages to enter their residence through sewers and vents. It is revealed that the men are NYPD officers. Back at the partnership facility, Dutch is forced to calm Sophie, who worries for her baby, as Sophie explains that the baby is the only family she has left in the world. The nurse talks rudely to her. When Dutch steps out of the surgery room, Sanjay asks her about Sophie, another pregnant lady, who is watching Dutch with Sanjay, misjudges Dutch's character and calls her selfish. In the next scene, Ephraim consoles Alex following her brother's death. He tells her about Kelly, Zach, and reveals that his son was responsible for the nuclear explosion. When Alex questions if Zach is still alive, Ephraim answers he doesn't know and suggests that he might be better off dead. Despite knowing the truth, Alex decides to stay with Ephraim and help him. As they head out, they find a brochure of the partnership that is recruiting people to create sustainable farms by sending them to a different place, named New Horizon. Soon they realize that the cargo manifest was about human shipments. Later, Gus returns back to his crew and tells them about the NYPD officers. They make a plan to barge in their hideout and steal the weapons. The next day they go through the sewers and the vents. One of the members hides in a building across the street and shoots two cops guarding outside the door with a sniper rifle. When the remaining cops are distracted, Gus and team enter inside. Once the cops return back, they indulge in a fight where Gus's team wins. As all the cops are dead, the crew capture all the weapons and Gus becomes the group's new hero, making Alonso jealous. Inside the surgery room, Sophie undergoes a C-section as she is comforted by Dutch. A baby girl is born, but unfortunately, she is taken away without even being shown to Sophie. Enraged, Dutch loses her patience and points a knife at Sanjay's neck and tries to free herself. She knocks him down and runs to a place where she is terrorized by what she sees. She reaches the human blood harvesting factory, which we saw was under construction in the previous season. The humans are caged and hanged up in the assembly line for blood harvesting, and then later incinerated. Dutch freezes as she looks at the place and is surrounded by vampires. The following day, Ephraim and Alex head to New Horizon, but their car breaks down on the way in rural Pennsylvania. As they wander around the deserted town, they find a phone of a young girl named Emily and go through it. They find vlogs of Emily that are 2 weeks old, and it is revealed that the family was about to head to New Horizon. But Emily was not willing to go there. When Ephraim and Alex realize that Emily's house is just in front of them, they go inside to find the house is empty. So, they decide to rest there for a while. Back in North Dakota, Vasily, Quinlan, Charlotte, and Roman watch from a distance as vampires load the silos in a truck. They find a new type of vampires called mongrels that are baked on soil and anointed with a worm exchange over 2 full moons. So they plan to ambush the group of vampires and take the pit assembly. The few men helping the group are hesitant to go on a fight after witnessing the vampires. However, Charlotte convinces them after promising silver, which she doesn't even have, as reward. Then she gives a jar of blood to Quinlan, who keeps staring at her, and we are taken back to a flashback of 1888 London. The young lady named Louisa has been searching for Quinlan for a long time to save her dying twin brother by immortalizing him. She takes Quinlan to visit her brother, who begs to make him immortal. Quinlan also meets Louisa's little daughter, who is scared to see a monster. In the present, Dutch is dragged from a cell to the basement to meet Eichhorst, who drinks Sophie's newborn baby's blood, claiming there's nothing better than an infant's B-positive blood. He then asks Dutch about Satrakian's whereabouts and is surprised to know that Satrakian has been in the partnership company for all these months. Immediately, he runs to Sanjay and asks him to see Satrakian's record, which shows he's on a site for bone marrow research. Soon Eichhorst finds an unconscious Satrakian and threatens the doctor to wake him up. After Satrakian wakes up, Eichhorst mocks him, saying this is the end of everything, and forces him to say that his god doesn't exist, as Satrakian says he will meet Eichhorst in hell. The latter reminds Satrakian is already in hell. In the next scene, Ephraim and Alex find a woman named Frances with a gun inside Emily's house. She reveals that she escaped from New Horizon, but will soon turn into a vampire as she was attacked. So, Ephraim asks her to take them to New Horizons before turning, and she agrees. Meanwhile, Dutch is being prepared to get drained along with Rosalinda and many others. When it's Rosalinda's turn, Dutch reveals the truth about blood harvesting and encourages everyone to revolt. After asking Rosalinda to get everyone to safety, Dutch goes to search Satrakian. Since Eichhorst is distracted by the alarms, Dutch finds Satrakian. However, Eichhorst arrives soon and taunts their reunion. Just then, Dutch sets him on fire and wheels Satrakian away. Elsewhere, Quinlan stands in the middle of the road as the vampire's convoy arrives near. He climbs up the truck and fights with a vampire, who is slid into half by a wire. After Quinlan throws the driver out of the truck, Vasily takes down other bad guys, until a vampire lashes at him. Luckily, Quinlan saves him. Later, when they open the truck, a vampire emerges but is killed by Quinlan immediately. Thankfully, the pit assembly is secured. Back to 1888 London. Quinlan visits Louisa at her home, where he finds her brother's condition has worsened. But Quinlan is not willing to turn him. Louisa, who has started to like Quinlan, does his makeup over and puts a wig on his head, making him look like a human. She walks to the bed and tells Quinlan that she wants to feel his tentacle. Quinlan then pulls up her skirt and lashes his tentacle on her legs. Then we are taken to Louis's brother's funeral, where the master arrives after the burial and kills the priest. As the episode comes to an end, Ephraim, Alex, and Frances reach New Horizon. Frances is about to turn, but she doesn't want to be shot. She soon heads off on her own way but returns back immediately after the master takes control of her body. He tells Ephraim about Zach and his progress, until Ephraim shoots Frances, disrupting his communication. Then, Ephraim and Alex walk on their path, following the pile of suitcases, and see a prison-like camp. Ephraim refers to it as the master's final solution. Subscribe and hit that like button to help our channel grow. Turn the notifications on so you won't miss any of our new videos. Thanks for watching.